In my previous life, it was on this very day that my roommate publicly read my diary, ruining my reputation. I have been reborn, and now I watch as she secretly records the contents of my diary once again. She stands on the stage, clears her throat, and reads aloud, "I've discovered a secret. My boyfriend is gay, and his true love is our academic advisor." I look at the instantly pale faces of my boyfriend and the advisor in the audience. Then close the new diary I had specially prepared for her, feeling quite satisfied. Next, let's invite classmate Linwei to share her recent reading insights with us. During the open class, Counselor Wang Jiangwo adjusted his glasses and called her name with a smile. Linwei stood up. She was wearing my newly bought dress, with delicate makeup on, but she wasn't holding any book in her hands, only a pink, password-locked diary. My diary. Everyone's gaze was fixed on her, including my boyfriend Chinja. He was sitting next to me, even reaching out to squeeze my palm, giving me a doting smile, as if to say, "Look, how ambitious your roommate is." I smiled back, but my heart was pounding in my chest. It's today. In my previous life, it was today that Linwei, with her innocent and concerned tone, publicly read out my diary entries about my self-consciousness over my poor family background. Those most private words were publicly executed by her in a tone of pity. The campus network labeled me as a green tea girl trying to seduce rich second-generation heirs. Finally, I jumped off the rooftop. "No, I'm back." I looked at Linwei, at the familiar, deliberately concerned expression on her face. "What I want to share today is not a book, but my roommate Su Qing's diary." Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to instantly silence the entire lecture hall. Everyone turned to look at me, shocked, curious, and with undisguised malice, waiting for the drama to unfold. Chinja's smile froze on his face. He looked at Linwei in disbelief, then turned to me, lowering his voice. "Su Qing, what's going on?" I ignored him, just quietly watching Linwei on the stage. "The real show is just beginning." Linwei put on a troubled and heartbroken expression. "I know it's wrong to peek at someone else's diary, but I'm just so worried about Su Qing. Her mental state has been really unstable lately, and I'm afraid she might do something drastic." I had to speak up so that everyone, including Teacher Wang and Chinja, can come together to help her. Her words sounded so righteous and noble that some people were already pointing fingers at me. In my previous life, it was these very words that nailed me to the pillar of shame, leaving me unable to defend myself. Linwei looked in my direction with satisfaction, then slowly opened that diary. She cleared her throat and, in a tone that suggested she was about to reveal a shocking secret, read aloud, "October 12th, Sunny, I discovered a secret. My boyfriend, Chinja." She deliberately paused, building up everyone's anticipation, then, word by word, read out the earth-shattering bombshell I had prepared for her. "Is gay, and his true love is our counselor, Teacher Wang Jiangwo." Bang! The entire classroom felt as if a bomb had been dropped. Dead silence, a dead silence that lasted over 10 seconds. Then came the sudden eruption of murmurs, sharp intakes of breath, and barely suppressed snickers. I clearly saw that Wang Jiangwo, who had been sitting as steady as a rock just a moment before, instantly lost all color in his face. His lips trembled, and he could barely hold on to the thermos cup in his hand, and Chinja beside me looked as if he had been punched in the face. Completely stunned, his handsome face first turned deathly pale, then flushed a deep, purplish red. "Nonsense." He suddenly stood up, pointing at Linwei on the stage, his voice cracking with anger. "What the hell are you talking about?" Linwei was also stunned. This wasn't how the plot was supposed to go. In her mind, she had imagined reading out my self-deprecating and pitiful secret crush, then everyone would sympathize with her, the saintly friend who had gone to great lengths, and look down on me, the shabby girl who couldn't even make it onto the stage. But now, the diary in her hands had become a hot potato. I don't know. "That's just what was written in the diary," she explained in a panic, her face pale. "I was just worried about Su Qing. She must have been triggered by something and started overthinking." "Shut up." Chinja showed a ferocious expression to his good sister Linwei for the first time. He snatched the textbook in front of me and slammed it to the ground, then glared at me fiercely, his eyes seeming to spit fire. "Su Qing, explain this clearly. Have you lost your mind?" I finally raised my eyes to meet his gaze. I didn't say a word, just slowly closed the new diary I had laid out on the table, the one I had specially prepared for Linwei. Then, I smiled. It was a smile of relief, of long-awaited vengeance, a smile that felt utterly liberating. "Su Qing, what are you laughing at? You damn well better explain yourself clearly." Chinja was furious and flustered, feeling as if he had been played for a fool, stripped naked in public. And the instigator was still laughing. He reached up to grab my collar, but I firmly seized his wrist. I wasn't as strong as him, but I used a clever technique, digging my nails deep into his pressure points, making him grimace in pain. "Chinja," I said softly, my voice not loud but clearly reaching his ears, "don't make a fool of yourself here, or everyone might think you're just lashing out in shame." His movements froze. The phrase lashing out in shame was like a needle, precisely piercing his most sensitive nerve. At that moment, the eyes of the entire class were like spotlights shining on us, filled with curiosity and gossip. Wang Jianguo had already snapped back to his senses, his face turned ashen as he slammed the table with force. Enough, all of you, quiet down. After all, he was still the teacher, and his authority remained intact. The classroom instantly fell silent. He stared at me with a deathly glare, his eyes so sinister they seemed ready to devour me. Student Su Qing, please explain what exactly is going on here. Why would you write such absurd things, maliciously slandering your boyfriend and your teacher? He had already labeled everything as my malicious slander. On stage, Lin Wei also immediately found her backbone, her eyes reddened, and with a tearful voice, she chimed in, yes, Teacher Wang. Su Qing must have misunderstood something. Su Qing, hurry up and explain to everyone. Tell them that you just wrote this nonsense, right? As she spoke, she kept winking at me, looking as if she genuinely had my best interests at heart. What a performance. In my past life, I was also pressured by their coordinated act, forced to admit that I had psychological issues, loved to fantasize, and wronged good people. But now, I am Neo Hura Su Qing. I slowly stood up, calmly sweeping my gaze over the three of them. Finally, my eyes settled on Qinzhe. Qinzhe, where were you at 9 o'clock last Wednesday night? Qinzhe was taken aback, a flicker of panic flashing in his eyes. I was studying at the library. Didn't you know that? Is that so? I smiled faintly. But how come I remember someone saying they saw you having dinner with the department beauty from the foreign languages department at the Rosemary Western restaurant outside the east gate of the school? Qinzhe's face paled once again. You are following me. I don't have the leisure for that, I said to him, word by word. It was her boyfriend who told me. Another small wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Cheating. And then being confronted by the actual boyfriend, the implications were huge. Qinzhe's lips moved, but not a single word came out. I turned to Wang Jianguo again. Teacher Wang, you said I slandered you. Then, may I ask, for this outstanding student's selection, why was my comprehensive evaluation clearly ranked first in the major, but in the final submitted list, it became Liu, who was second? Wang Jianguo's expression also changed. This is the result of the college's comprehensive evaluation, and it is open and transparent. Is that so? I took out my phone from my backpack and played a recording. That's what I secretly recorded when I went to his office yesterday to ask about this. In the recording, Wang Jianguo's voice came through clearly. Su Qing, your grades are excellent, but the evaluation for excellence isn't just about grades. Liu's family is in a more difficult situation, and this opportunity is more important to her. You should learn to be understanding. Besides, your boyfriend Qinzhe comes from such a well-off family. It's not like you need the scholarship, right? I turned off the recording and looked at his instantly ashen face. Teacher Wang, so the evaluation for excellence isn't based on grades, but on who's poorer and who's richer. I only learned that today. Wang Jianguo's body swayed, almost unable to stand steady. He used the bribe money to buy himself a new car, yet he righteously told me to understand others. As for that Liu, her father runs a company. On the first day of school, she arrived in a Porsche to register, even wealthier than Qinzhe's family. This line of reasoning is nothing more than an excuse he used to brush me off. As for the evidence of his bribery, I don't have it yet, but there's no rush. I'll take my time. Now, everyone understands, my boyfriend cheated, and my performance evaluation was sabotaged. The diary I wrote wasn't baseless imagination, but revenge. It was a premeditated, mutually destructive revenge, aimed at dragging down everyone who had ever hurt me. The classroom fell into dead silence. Everyone looked at me with a new expression, a mix of sympathy, fear, and a hint of excitement. Only Lin Wei, seeing everyone's reaction and the completely out-of-control situation, turned deathly pale. She finally realized that what she had stolen was not a diary, but a bomb she had personally detonated, and she was the one closest to the bomb. No, it can't be like this, she murmured, her face as pale as paper. Su Qing, how could you become like this? I looked at her and smiled. What have I become? Have I become less easy to bully? I walked step by step up to the podium and took my diary back from her stunned hands. Then, in front of the whole class, I threw it into the trash can. Some trash belongs in the trash can, I said. It's unclear whether he's talking about the diary or certain people. The bell signaling the end of class rang out sharply, like a gospel of salvation for all. Wang Jianguo practically fled the classroom, even forgetting to take his lesson plan. Qinzhe didn't leave. He stared at me fiercely, as if trying to bore two holes through me. The students began to leave in twos and threes, instinctively avoiding me as they passed, their expressions complex. There was sympathy, disdain, and even a hint of schadenfreude. I didn't care. Linwei remained frozen on the podium, her face alternating between pale and flushed, clearly still reeling from the shock. I packed my things and prepared to leave. Suqing, you stop right there, Qinzhe finally snapped. He rushed over in a few steps, blocking my way, suppressing his anger as his voice hissed through clenched teeth. What exactly are you trying to do? What good does it do you to ruin me and ruin Teacher Wang? Even now, all he cares about is his own reputation and Wang Jiangwo's. The benefit is that I'm happy. I looked at him, calmly stating the fact. You, Qinzhe's chest heaved violently with anger. Just because I made that one mistake, you're taking revenge on me like this. How can your heart be so cruel? One mistake. I sounded as if I had heard the biggest joke. Qinzhe, do you remember when you were a freshman and you pursued me, bringing me breakfast for a month? He was taken aback, not understanding why I suddenly brought this up. I remember. Then do you remember how Linwei always whispered in my ear that boys all like gentle and considerate girls, telling me not to reject you, saying you were a rare good man? Qinzhe's expression softened a bit. Xiaowei, she really has always supported us. Yes. I nodded. After that, whenever we argued, Linwei would urge me to be more tolerant. When you played games and didn't reply to my messages, she said boys need their own space. When you flirted with other girls, she said they were just ordinary friends. When you forgot my birthday, she said you were busy with your studies and asked me to be understanding. My voice was calm, yet it made Qinzhe's expression grow increasingly unpleasant. On your birthday, she reminded me to buy your favorite perfume. When I was sick, she was more anxious than I was, pulling you along to take me to the hospital. With every word I spoke, Qinzhe's arrogance diminished a little, because Linwei was the eternal peacemaker and best assistant in our relationship. So, I looked at him, and at Linwei, whose face was deathly pale not far away. One helps you find excuses for your affair, the other helps you build a devoted persona in front of me. You two really work well together, don't you? Qinzhe was completely speechless. As for Linwei, her entire body was trembling. I walked past the stunned Qinzhe and approached Linwei. She instinctively took a step back, as if looking at a monster. Linwei, I called her name. Do you know, in my past life, you did the same thing, holding my diary, saying you wanted to help me. Her pupils suddenly contracted. What past life? The result of your help was that everyone thought I was insane, and in the end, I jumped from here. I pointed out the window. Linwei's face turned as white as a ghost in an instant. You're talking nonsense. You're crazy. You're really crazy, she screamed, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Whether I'm crazy or not isn't important. I leaned in close to her, speaking in a voice only the two of us could hear. What matters is that now everyone knows Qinzhe is a cheating scumbag, and Wang Jiangwo is a hypocrite who abuses his power for personal gain. And you, I said, looking into her terrified eyes, word by word, are the great whistleblower who exposed their dirty deeds to the public. With that, I stopped looking at her and walked straight out of the classroom. Behind me were Qinzhe's furious roars and Linwei's sobbing cries of despair. I knew this was only the beginning. They would not let this go easily. Sure enough, that very afternoon, a post exploded on the school forum. The title read, "A heart-wrenching accusation. Suqing, a senior student in the College of Agriculture, suffers from delusions due to emotional issues. Maliciously slanders her boyfriend and advisor, my friend. How can I save you?" The poster was Linwei. In the post, Linwei described the entire truth of the matter in a tone filled with sorrow and helplessness. She said, "I've always been insecure and sensitive, and after getting into a relationship with Qinzhe, I became even more anxious and possessive." She said, "My mental state has been very poor lately, often talking to myself in the air and suspecting Qinzhe of cheating." She said she read my diary out of concern, wanting to understand my true thoughts so she could guide me. As for the content in the diary, she insisted with certainty that it was all my imagination. She claimed that after failing to get a good evaluation and having conflicts with Qinzhe, I shifted all the blame onto others and fabricated this whole gay drama in my mind. She portrayed herself as a kind, innocent, and saintly figure who was utterly exhausted for the sake of her friends. Meanwhile, I became a deranged lunatic, twisted by love and hatred. The tone in the comments quickly shifted. Damn, so that gay guy's diary was fake. It was all made up by this Suqing. It's terrifying to think about. How dark must this girl's mind be to come up with such a plot? I feel so sorry for her roommate. She really ran into a lunatic, treating kindness as if it were worthless. Qinzhe and Teacher Wang are so unlucky, getting smeared with dirt for no reason at all. I knew it. Teacher Wang is such a good person. How could he possibly? Wang Jiangwo quickly responded under the post with his real name, his tone heavy. As Suqing's class counselor, I bear an undeniable responsibility for the recent changes in her mental state. I did not care enough. Please stop attacking her and give her some space. The college will arrange for a psychological counselor to provide her with guidance. His words, seemingly tolerant and magnanimous, actually directly labeled me as having psychological issues. Chinja also followed up with a reply, "Thank you for your concern, and thank you, Xiaowei. No matter what Su Qing becomes, she is someone I once loved. I will stay by her side until she recovers." What a touching performance of deep affection, unwavering and steadfast. The three of them, one playing the saint, one acting the compassionate mentor, and one pretending to be the romantic hero. Instantly, they turned the tide of public opinion. I became the sole unreasonable villain who needed to be saved. This was their counterattack, swift, precise, and vicious. They nailed me to the cross of madness, rendering all my defenses pale and powerless. My phone was bombarded with calls and messages, some classmates hurling insults, others urging me to seek help early. I couldn't even return to my dorm. Linwei had locked the door from the inside, standing outside. I could clearly hear her sobbing on the phone, saying how terrified she was of me and how she feared I might harm her. I was completely isolated, but this time, as I looked at the unsightly comments on my phone, I felt no anger, only a cold, icy calm. I stood outside the dormitory door for a moment, then turned and calmly walked toward a print shop off campus. Half an hour later, another post appeared on the school forum. No tearful accusations, no lengthy justifications, just a photo and an audio clip. The photo was a candid shot of Chinja kissing the foreign language department's beauty queen in a Western restaurant, taken from a clear angle that even showed the mole on his face distinctly. The audio was a recording from when I confronted him about his infidelity, where he personally admitted it and begged for my forgiveness. Ching, I was wrong. I was just blinded for a moment. I was just fooling around with her. The only one I love is you. Can you give me another chance? The title of the post was simple, just one sentence: who is the crazy one, who is lying? Within less than 10 minutes of the post being published, the forum exploded. Comments that were previously cursing me and sympathizing with Chinja instantly took a 180-degree turn. Holy shit, what a shocking reversal. So Chinja really did cheat. This recording, these photos, it's absolutely undeniable. So Su Qing's diary wasn't delusional. She took revenge because she caught her boyfriend cheating. I knew it. There's no smoke without fire. Now it seems Chinja and that Linwei are in cahoots, right? One cheats, the other helps cover it up, and now they're turning around to call the woman crazy. That's disgusting. My face hurts now forever feeling sorry for Chinja before. Scumbag, go to hell. The fire of public opinion has turned back on them, burning even more fiercely than before. I can imagine the expressions on Chinja and Linwei's faces when they see the post. I leaned against the wall outside the print shop, watching the comments constantly refreshing on my phone screen, and slowly let out a heavy sigh. This was just the appetizer. The real war is only just beginning. The next day, Wang Jiangwo called me into his office. This time, there was no pretense or politeness from before. He closed the door, his face so dark it seemed like water could drip from it. Su Qing. He got straight to the point. What exactly do you want? I pulled out the chair opposite him, sat down, and looked at him calmly. That's exactly what I should be asking you. Teacher Wang, what exactly do you want? Are you only satisfied when you've driven me to my death? He was taken aback by my words, his eyes flickering. I don't know what you're talking about. Everything I did was for your own good, for the reputation of the school. For the reputation of the school? You can sell my spot for the Excellence Award to Liu. I asked directly. Wang Jiangwo's face instantly turned pale. You're talking nonsense. What evidence do you have? I don't have any at the moment, I admitted frankly, then shifted the tone. But, Teacher Wang, guess what? If I go to the Education Bureau and file a real name report, accusing you of using your position to accept bribes from students' parents, do you think the higher-ups will believe a crazy student who has nothing to lose and is willing to risk everything, or will they believe you, this innocent and upright good teacher? I was gambling that he was guilty. Sure enough, cold sweat broke out on Wang Jiangwo's forehead. He stared at me intently, as if trying to find a flaw in my expression. Are you threatening me? No. I shook my head. I'm negotiating with you. What conditions? It's very simple. I extended one finger. First, return the outstanding student nomination to me. Second, immediately stop all suppression and slander against me. And third, have Chinja and Linwei publicly apologize to me in front of the entire faculty and student body. Wang Jiangwo laughed angrily. Su Qing, have you really lost your mind? Who do you think you are? What gives you the right to negotiate with me? Because, I stood up, walked over to him, leaned down to look at him, and said word by word, I'm not afraid of being ruined, but you are. After saying that, I no longer looked at his face, twisted with anger and fear, and turned to walk out of the office. I know he will compromise, because people like him value their reputation and future prospects the most. As for me, I've already died once. Those with nothing to lose never fear those with everything to lose. Wang Jiangwo was more composed than I had imagined. For 3 consecutive days, he made no move. The rumors about me at school did not cease. I became the goddess of revenge and the femme fatale in everyone's eyes. Some respect me, some fear me, but most point fingers behind my back. Linwei hasn't been attending classes these past few days. I heard she told her family that I triggered her into a nervous breakdown, and she needs to rest. Chinja is even more ashamed to show his face, locking himself in his dorm room all day. Everything seems to have reached a deadlock, but I know this is just the calm before the storm. Wang Jiangwo must be thinking of a countermeasure. He won't give in easily, and I, too, need to find the most crucial evidence for my next plan, evidence of Li Yu's bribery. In my previous life, I never knew about this until the day I died. After being reborn, it was only while piecing together the fragments of my past life's memories that I suddenly remembered. Not long after my death, I heard that Wang Jiangwo was investigated for economic issues. And the cause seemed to be a report from a certain graduate, combined with the fact that he gave my spot to Li Yu without any explanation this time. I'm almost certain the problem lies right here, but I have no evidence. The recording can only prove his procedural unfairness, but it cannot prove that he accepted bribes. I must find that breakthrough. I began deliberately getting close to Li Yu. Li Yu is a very quiet girl who usually doesn't fit in well with others. Her grades are above average, but it's an open secret in the class that she comes from a wealthy family. I found an opportunity to bump into her at the library. I didn't bring up the evaluation for excellence, just chatted with her about some course-related questions. Li Yu seemed a bit guarded around me, always speaking cautiously. I wasn't in a hurry either, chatting with her casually, and then brought it up as if by accident. Have you seen what's been happening on the school forum lately? Li Yu's body visibly stiffened for a moment, then she shook her head. No, I didn't really watch it. You should still take a look. It's quite thrilling. I smiled, but it's also quite tragic. Someone who earned first place on their own merit ended up being pushed to such a state. After saying this, I stood up and left, leaving Li Yu sitting there alone, her expression shifting uncertainly. I didn't force her. I simply planted a seed of doubt and fear in her heart. Wang Jiangwo could sell my spot for money, and in the future, he could also push her, the briber, out as a scapegoat to save himself. Smart people know how to weigh the pros and cons. As for me, I only need to wait. While waiting, I haven't been idle either. I've always had a doubt about Chinja's affair. In my previous life, he also had an affair, but the other person was just an ordinary junior student. In this life, to get revenge, I deliberately wrote him and Wang Jiangwo as a couple in my diary. But now, thinking about it calmly, something just doesn't feel right. Although Chinja is a scumbag, he is extremely concerned about his reputation, and somewhat homophobic. Why, after I wrote that diary, did he react with such a hysterical anger, as if I had hit a nerve? It was as if my absurd lie had inadvertently touched upon some truth they were desperately trying to conceal. With this question in mind, I began to secretly observe Chinja. He had been staying indoors these past few days, but every night around 10 o'clock, he would sneak out of the dormitory. I quietly followed him. He didn't go far, heading instead to the abandoned basketball court behind the school. The lighting there was dim, and it was usually a place few people visited. I hid behind the distant bushes and saw Chinja walk to the basketball hoop, seemingly waiting for someone. Soon, another figure appeared. It wasn't Wang Jiangwo, nor was it some girl I didn't know. The figure was tall, wearing a tracksuit and a baseball cap, making it hard to see their face. He walked up to Chinja and, quite naturally, reached up to wrap an arm around his shoulders. Then, he took off his hat. Under the dim streetlight, I could clearly see his face. In that instant, it felt as if all the blood in my body had frozen. It's Chinyang, Chinja's first cousin. He also attends our school, one grade below us, and the two have always been very close, often playing basketball and eating together. I always thought they were just deeply bonded as brothers, but now, in the deserted corner, Chinyang put his arm around Chinja's shoulder and whispered something into his ear. Chinja didn't resist. Instead, he leaned into him obediently. The posture was so intimate, it didn't seem like that of brothers. What sent chills down my spine even more was that Chinyang looked up and glanced in the direction where I was hiding. That gaze was cold, sharp, with a hint of playful amusement. He spotted me. He spotted me long ago. I felt a chill shoot from the soles of my feet straight to the crown of my head. The diary I wrote is fake, but Chinja is real. He really likes men. It's just that the person isn't Wang Jiangwo, but his own cousin. I finally understood why Chinja reacted so intensely, because my seemingly absurd lie was like a key that almost opened the dirtiest, most unspeakable cabinet in their family. I practically fled back to the dormitory. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest, and my back felt icy cold. Chinyang's final gaze lingered in my mind like a nightmare. It wasn't the kind of look an ordinary college student should have. It was the look of a hunter who had spotted its prey, determined and confident. I slumped in the chair, trying to steady my breathing. The situation was far more complicated and far more sordid than I had imagined. Incest, homosexuality, either one of these would be enough to completely ruin the Chin family, a clan that placed immense importance on reputation. No wonder they attacked me so frantically, trying to brand me as a madman, because only the words of a madman would be believed by no one. What should we do now? Expose this matter? No. I have no substantial evidence in my hands. Merely seeing them standing together proves nothing. Acting rashly would only give them a chance to turn the tables on me, accusing me of failing to spread rumors about Wang Jiangwo last time and now starting to spread rumors about his cousin. By then, I would truly become a madman with no way to defend myself. I must stay calm. I need an opportunity. A chance to capture decisive evidence, and that opportunity soon arrived, 2 days later. Liu reached out to me on her own. She arranged to meet me at a cafe off campus, looking haggard with heavy dark circles under her eyes. Suqing, she got straight to the point. What did you mean by what you said last time? I knew that the seed in her heart had already begun to sprout. Nothing much, I said, stirring the coffee in front of me calmly. I just think Wang Jiangwo is unreliable. Liu's lips twitched, and she couldn't hold back in the end. He came to see me. Oh. He asked me to give him another sum of money. Liu's voice trembled. He said he's been overwhelmed by the trouble you've caused him lately and needs money to smooth things over and settle this matter. Otherwise, if it really gets investigated, both of us will be finished. I sneered inwardly. Smoothing things over was just an excuse. Taking the chance to extort more money was the real goal. Wang Jiangwo saw that Liu's family was wealthy and had leverage over her, wanting to use her as his personal ATM. What did you say? I asked. I didn't agree. Liu clenched her hands. I'm afraid this is a bottomless pit. Suqing, I don't want to go on like this anymore. Do you have some kind of plan? She finally asked the question. I looked up and gazed at her. Liu, I need you to do me a favor. Friday afternoon was Wang Jiangwo's specialized class. Before class, Liu, following our plan, accidentally dropped an envelope near Wang Jiangwo's podium. The envelope was thick, containing a stack of brand new 100 yuan bills. Of course, they were fake. I bought them as props online. During class, Wang Jiangwo spotted the envelope at a glance. He froze for a moment, then calmly covered it with his lesson plan. The entire process lasted only a few seconds, but the fleeting greed and glee in his eyes were clearly visible to me. After class, he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he waited until all the students had gone before quickly slipping the envelope into his briefcase. Then, as usual, he locked the door and left the teaching building. As for me, I took out my phone and dialed Chinja's number. Before blocking him, I memorized his number. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered, and Chinja's voice sounded impatient. Who is this? It's me, Suqing. There was silence on the other end of the line. Chinja, I got straight to the point. I want to talk to you, about you and your cousin Qinyang. What the hell are you talking about? Chinja's voice instantly changed tone. Suqing, don't you dare slander me. Whether I'm slandering you or not, you know the truth in your heart, I said coldly. Half an hour from now, at the abandoned basketball court behind the school. Come alone. If you don't show up, you'll face the consequences. With that, I hung up the phone directly. I knew he would definitely come. Then I sent an anonymous text message to Qinyang. Want to know your cousin's secret? Come to the abandoned basketball court. There's a good show to watch. Finally, I looked at Liu, who had been by my side all along. She was so nervous that her palms were sweating. Suqing, really? Are we really going to do this? I nodded and handed her a miniature camera. Liu, this is our last chance. The night was like a huge black cloth, enveloping the entire campus. The dim streetlights in the abandoned basketball court resembled the eyes of wandering ghosts, flickering with an eerie glow. Liu and I had hidden ourselves in advance behind that familiar thicket of trees. This is the best observation point, both concealed and offering a full view of the entire basketball court. I set up my own phone and turned on the recording mode. Liu was also nervously adjusting the miniature camera in her hand. Soon, Chinja arrived. He was alone, looking flustered, like a startled bird, constantly glancing around. Suqing, come out here, he whispered urgently. What exactly do you want? I didn't make a sound. I was waiting for the other protagonist to make an entrance. Not long after, Qinyang's figure also appeared. He still had that leisurely and carefree look, with his hands in his pockets, strolling over slowly. When he saw that Chinja was the only one on the basketball court, he raised an eyebrow. Bro, what are you doing here so late? Chinja saw him and turned as pale as a ghost. Xiaoyang, what are you doing here? Got an interesting text message, so I came to check it out. Qinyang's gaze swept around before finally settling on Chinja, a playful smile curling at the corner of his mouth. Bro, you seem really nervous. What did that woman say to you? Chinja's lips trembled, unable to speak. Let me guess. Qinyang stepped closer to him. A hint of cruel amusement in his voice. Did she find out about us? Chinja's body trembled violently. No, she didn't. She knows nothing. He almost shouted. Xiaoyang, listen to me. We can't keep going like this. What are we? Qinyang interrupted, reaching out to grip his chin and forcing him to look into his eyes. Cousins, or lovers. His voice was filled with temptation. Chinja's eyes were filled with pain and struggle, but his body offered no resistance at all. Brother, have you forgotten how you begged me back then? Qinyang leaned close to his ear, whispering something only the two of them could hear. I couldn't make out the words, but I could see Chinja's face turn from pale to deathly white. In the end, as if all his strength had been drained, he closed his eyes in despair. Qinyang smiled. He looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction, then raised his hand as if to embrace Chinja. Now's the chance. I gave a meaningful glance to Liu beside me. Liu understood, took a deep breath, and suddenly rushed out from behind the bushes. Teacher Wang, she shouted while running. This Teacher Wang was the code phrase we had agreed upon. The two people on the basketball court were startled at the same time and immediately looked over in this direction, and just at the moment they were distracted, a dark figure silently approached from the darkness on the other side, quickly picked up the briefcase Wang Jiangwo had left there, and then vanished into the night. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. By the time Chinja and Qinyang realized what was happening, they only saw Liu running over alone, panting heavily and looking panicked. What happened? Chinja asked sharply. I think I saw Teacher Wang. Liu pointed towards where we were hiding, gasping for breath as she spoke. He was just over here, acting all sneaky. As soon as I called out, he ran off. This was the second step of our plan. Frame Wang Jiangwo, Chinja and Qinyang exchanged a glance, both seeing the shock and uncertainty in each other's eyes. Meanwhile, I had quietly put away my phone and left the scene. In my hands, I now held their most fatal leverage. On the other side, the person who took Wang Jiangwo's briefcase had also delivered the items to the location I specified. Inside the briefcase, there was not only the envelope filled with counterfeit money but also an account book. It meticulously records every bribe he has accepted since becoming a counselor, date, name, amount. Each entry is shocking. Wang Jiangwo, you're finished. I sent the account books and the recorded videos, along with photos of Chinja's infidelity, the recording of Wang Jiangwo telling me to be understanding, and the matters involving Chinja and his cousin. Using an anonymous email, I sent them to 3 people: the principal of our school, the secretary of the Discipline Inspection Commission at the Municipal Education Bureau, and also Chinja's grandfather, who holds a not too big, not too small position in the provincial government and values face the most. After finishing all of this, I let out a long sigh of relief. I threw out all the bombs. Now, all I need to do is quietly wait for a grand explosion. Soon after, the exact same content appeared on the campus network. Wang Jiangwo's bribery ledger was photographed page by page in high definition, with every entry clearly visible. His transfer records with Liu's father, the recording of him asking me to be understanding, photos and audio recordings of Chinja's affair, news video of Chinja's mother causing a scene, and that 5-minute, high definition, uncut video of Chinja and Qinyang's intimate conversation in the abandoned basketball court. The entire school has gone completely mad. If the previous incidents were merely gossip and emotional disputes among students, then now, it's a super earthquake sweeping through the entire school. Corruption, affairs, and scandal. Every single word is enough to send the audience's adrenaline soaring. Holy shit, holy shit. What the hell am I seeing? Wang Jiangwo actually embezzled this much money. That Liu, her dad actually gave 200,000, just for an outstanding student spot. Chinja, he actually, with his cousin. Ugh, my eyes, my worldview. Now I finally understand why his family reacted so strongly. If this got exposed, the whole family would be finished, right? So, from start to finish, Su Qing was telling the truth. She's not crazy, she's the only victim my ass. This is the queen of revenge. She took on everyone single-handedly, so damn impressive. Public opinion has completely reversed. I have become, in the eyes of everyone, the god who wields the hammer of Thor, judging all sins. Wang Jiangwo, Chinja, Linwei, Liu, and the Qin family, on the other hand, have been nailed to the pillar of shame, never to rise again. I know this is the principal's ruthless move to protect himself. With such a major scandal, he must use the fastest speed and the most resolute attitude to quell public opinion and restore the school's reputation. And I was the sharpest blade he ever wielded. I was looking at my phone when a sudden commotion erupted at the classroom door. It was Chinja. He burst in, looking completely unhinged, eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled. He didn't look at anyone else, but stared at me intently. Su Qing, he roared, like a wounded beast. Was it you? Was it you who did it? I calmly put away my phone and looked at him. It was me. Receiving the affirmative answer, Chinja seemed to have all his strength drained away. He staggered back 2 steps, then suddenly lunged at me like a madman. "I'll kill you, you bitch, you've ruined me, you've ruined my whole family." His face was twisted and ferocious, as if he had gone insane. The surrounding classmates screamed in terror and scattered. I didn't hide. Just as his hand was about to touch me, several uniformed security guards rushed in from outside the door and pinned him firmly to the ground. The principal and the college secretary followed them in, their faces pale with anger. "Take him away," the principal shouted sternly. Chinju was still struggling frantically, cursing me non-stop. I watched as he was dragged away like a dead dog, feeling no emotion in my heart. In my past life, I had also been that desperate, that frantic, but back then, no one came to save me. The principal walked up to me with a complicated expression. "Suqing, the school deeply apologizes for everything you've been through, rest assured. The school will definitely give you justice." I looked at him and nodded. "Thank you, Principal. What I've always wanted was never anyone's apology. What I want is for them to receive the punishment they deserve. And now, everything has just begun. Chinja has been suspended from school. I heard that after he was taken home. His grandfather was so angry that he had a heart attack on the spot and was rushed to the emergency room. The Chin family was thrown into complete chaos. Chinja's mother couldn't handle the shock and suffered a mental breakdown, eventually being sent to a sanatorium. Wang Jiangwo, due to the enormous amount of money involved in the case, has been formally arrested and now faces a long prison sentence. Liu also received a major disciplinary demerit, and Lin Wei, the mastermind who had been hiding behind the scenes, playing the role of the saintly White Lotus, ultimately could not escape either. The school gave her the punishment of expulsion on the grounds of serious misconduct and poor character. I ran into her downstairs at the dormitory. She was dragging her suitcase, looking haggard and withered, with none of her former refinement in sight. Seeing me, she seemed to have found a lifeline, rushing over frantically to grab my arm. "Suqing, help me, go tell the school that this is all a misunderstanding. You can't do this to me." Her nails dug into me painfully. I looked at her coldly. "Linwei, do you remember, in my past life, I begged you just like this?" She froze. "I begged you to tell everyone that you stole the diary and twisted its contents, but what did you do?" I shook off her hand and asked, word by word, in front of everyone, "You said I was mentally unstable, that I was repaying kindness with ingratitude." Linwei's face turned as pale as paper. "Suqing, we are best friends," she cried. "How could you be so heartless?" "Friend," I laughed, "a friend who snooped through my diary, exposed my privacy, and after I died, calmly wore my clothes, used my things, and even stole my boyfriend. Yes, in my previous life, not long after I died, Linwei and Chinja got together. This was something I only dug up from the corners of my memory after I was reborn. It turns out that everything she did wasn't just to laugh at me, it was to replace me." Linwei's pupils suddenly contracted. She looked at me in disbelief, as if seeing a ghost. How could you know? If you don't want others to know, don't do it." I looked at her, my eyes devoid of any warmth. "Linwei, you were never my friend, you were just a despicable thief lurking by my side." After saying that, I ignored her hysterical cries and went straight upstairs, back at the dorm. I packed all my belongings into my suitcase. This place, filled with nightmares and filth, was somewhere I didn't want to stay for another second. The school had arranged a new dorm for me, a single room, clean and bright. The previously revoked outstanding student title and scholarship were also reinstated under my name. The principal personally spoke with me, hoping I would remain silent externally and no longer accept any media interviews. I agreed, because my revenge was already complete. Those who had hurt me had already fallen into the hell they had dug with their own hands. I have no interest in watching them struggle and rot inside. I only want to live my new, reborn life well. On graduation day, the weather was beautiful. As an outstanding graduate representative, I stood at the podium to deliver my speech, wearing my graduation gown. Looking at the young and vibrant faces in the audience, I felt a momentary daze. It was as if the girl from my previous life, who had jumped from the rooftop, was just a distant nightmare. After finishing my speech, I walked off the stage and saw an unexpected person, Qin Yang. He had lost a lot of weight, with a trace of lingering gloom between his brows, but his gaze was calm when he looked at me. "Congratulations," he said. I nodded without saying a word. "My brother, he has already gone abroad." Qin Yang paused, then added, "Perhaps he will never return." "Oh, Suqing," he looked at me and suddenly asked, "Did you know from the very beginning?" I knew what he was asking. I shook my head. I didn't know. I was just luckier. The lie I made up happened to stumble upon his real secret. This is probably fate. Qin Yang smiled self-deprecatingly. "Yes, luck. Our Qin family just has terrible luck." After saying that, he didn't linger any longer. He turned around and disappeared into the crowd, looking desolate. I watched his retreating figure, feeling nothing inside. I am neither a savior nor a judge. I am merely an avenger who crawled back from the depths of hell. Now, With my vengeance fulfilled and all debts settled, my future lies wide open before me. Holding my diploma, I stepped out of the school gates. The sun shines on me, warm and cozy. I see someone waiting for me across the street. It's Liu. She graduated today too. Seeing me, she gives me a sincere smile. Suqing, let's go grab a meal together. To celebrate our new beginnings, I smiled and nodded, sure. We walked side by side on the bustling street, chatting about our future jobs. Funny stories about renting apartments, and the latest movies, just like two ordinary girls, about to step into society, filled with hope for the future. No one ever brought up those unsavory people and events from the past again. We all knew that the darkness was behind us. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In 1973. Song Yangji came to my house to propose marriage. It was a joyous occasion, but I voluntarily gave the opportunity to my stepsister. Some say I'm aloof, and if it weren't for Song Yangji being severely injured, with my family's background, he would never have sought a marriage alliance with us, but only I know that this was a way to avoid a disaster. In my previous life, after I married Song Yangji, my health deteriorated day by day, and in the end, I became paralyzed for no apparent reason. Song Yangji, by some unknown method, transferred all the pain and illness onto me. Finally, to save my stepsister, I fell from the 10th floor. My brains splattered out, yet I somehow didn't die. Meanwhile, at home, I died for no reason with my brains exploding. Song Yangji recovered as if nothing had happened after my death. He remarried my stepsister, and my mysterious death was dismissed with a casual remark about my lack of fortune. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Song Yangji came to my home to propose marriage. Why, brother Yangji, he was supposed to marry me. The betrothal letter never specified who he was marrying. How can you be so sure it wasn't me he intended to marry? In my previous life, when Fan Ronghua found out that Song Yangji had come to propose to me, she threw a similar tantrum, loudly accusing my family of being capitalists. If it weren't for my father later marrying into her family, I would have been sent to the countryside for re-education. I won't marry. The whole family was instantly stunned, their eyes turning toward me. I think Ronghua makes sense. I usually have no contact with Song Yangji, whereas she attended night school at the military base for a few days. Maybe it's Ronghua that Commander Song wants to marry. In my past life, given my family background, being noticed by Commander Song, who had a physical disability, should have been considered a stroke of luck. After I married him, it was as if I had been cursed. My health deteriorated day by day. On top of that, my legs grew weaker with each passing day. While Song Yangji was able to stand up again, it was only then that I realized Song Yangji's injuries were gradually transferring to me. I wanted to confront Song Yangji and demand an explanation, but he turned the tables and questioned me instead. The one who saved me back then was your sister, Fan Ronghua. How dare you, to become an officer's wife? You actually stole your sister's place. Do you know that your sister is threatening suicide because of this? I was completely confused, unable to even utter a word in my defense. He locked me in the room and cut off my food and water. It was on this very day that Song Yangji, in an attempt to save my sister, fell from the 10th floor. His brains were spilled out, yet he miraculously survived. Meanwhile, I died suddenly inside the room. The cause of death being a brain explosion. Since I've been given a second chance at life, I will never marry Song Yangji. Yet unexpectedly, in this life, Song Yangji took the initiative to come to my door, and his first words were to ask for Fan Ronghua's hand in marriage. Ronghua's face flushed with excitement, and he too was visibly stirred. As the two exchanged meaningful glances, father loudly objected, "Absolutely not. How can the younger sister marry before the elder sister?" I thought father was looking out for me, but the next sentence chilled my heart. "Commander Song, my daughter Xiaoxin is diligent and hardworking. At her age, she's unlikely to marry, and she hasn't found a job either. Why not let her work as a nanny at your place? It would be convenient for her to take care of Ronghua and you, and it's always easier to rely on family." My father-in-law, as soon as my maternal family fell, he immediately married someone new. In my past life, I didn't even have a simple coffin. How could he possibly consider me in this life? "Dad, I won't go. Xiaoxin, with your background, no unit will take you. Taking care of Commander Song counts as having a job, and you can stay in the city. Do you really want to go to the countryside?" I sneered. "What's wrong with going to the countryside? There's nothing shameful about it. I've already applied, and I'll be leaving next month." Everyone present was taken by surprise. You see, I had returned from studying abroad just 6 months ago. Having grown up as the daughter of a capitalist family, I had never even held a broom at home, let alone gone to the countryside. When I announced that my destination was the far-off northwest, Thousands of miles away, everyone was even more shocked. My mind is made up, little sister. I wish you and Commander Song happiness. Fan Ronghua's eyes flickered with emotion, and Song Yangji also spoke up. It's a good thing you have the heart to build the nation. If you need anything, just tell me directly. Sister, I misunderstood you before. From now on, you are my own sister. She took off the red string from her wrist and put it on mine, which made father and my stepmother praise our sisterly bond. Father and my stepmother eagerly invited Song Yangji to stay for dinner. At the dinner table, they were eager to get this done today. Ronghua, her face flushed, poured tea for Commander Song. Her hands were unsteady, and the scalding tea spilled all over Commander Song's hand. Song Yangji's hand instantly turned red and swollen. I'm sorry. Ronghua hurriedly apologized, but Song Yangji just smiled, his right hand seemingly devoid of any sense of pain. I stared intently at the two of them. In this lifetime, I wanted to see clearly how his pain was transferred, but just then, my right hand felt as if it had been plunged into a pot of boiling oil, the pain so intense that I cried out, "Ah, Xiaoyoshin." The sudden searing heat nearly brought tears to my eyes, and my body instinctively leaned to the right, just in time to be steadied by Song Yangji. What's going on? Why am I the one in pain again? I quickly stepped back, putting distance between myself and Song Yangji. Sister, I was splashing. Yangji, why are you crying out? Brother Yangji said he would marry me. You're pretending to be hurt and acting crazy, even throwing yourself at Yangji. How shameless. I quickly waved my arms, hoping the cool air would drive away the intense heat. Stop arguing. You must have splashed Xixia just now. That was boiling water at 100 degrees. Yes. Your sister surely didn't mean it either. She just happened to be sitting in that spot, right next to Yangji. It was a subconscious reaction, an unintentional act. Father and stepmother tried to smooth things over. They certainly didn't want the marriage to fall through just like that. Song Yangji also lost his appetite for the meal. With a strange look in his eyes, he exchanged a few words with father before leaving. Sis, is this fun? Who would believe such words coming from you, daughter? If you truly regret it, tell your father. I can find you a reliable husband, not as good as Commander Song, but enough to keep you well fed and clothed. Looking at my scumbag father's earnest expression, I could only smile bitterly. In my previous life, he was so eager to marry me off, all because he wanted to seize the Xia family's assets. After my mother passed away, she left behind a lot of inheritance hidden in the house. Once I was married, he turned the house upside down searching for it. But in this life, I will never let him succeed. Early the next morning, I went to the educated youth office. Along the way, Fan Ronghua followed me, and she only left after seeing me enter the office door. Feeling reassured, when the educated youth office staff saw it was me, they introduced me to another person, Zhang Yichu, my former classmate who studied abroad. He seemed to vanish into thin air after returning to the country. Zhang Yichu looked at my file and asked me again. It's a special time now. And you're a special talent. Are you really considering joining us? You'll have to live under an assumed name from now on, and you might never be able to return. I nodded without hesitation. In my previous life, because I was a student who had studied abroad, an organization approached me and asked if I was willing to join the Northwest Plan. However, at that time, I was bewitched by Song Yangji and ended up choosing to get married in a daze. In this life, I must stay far away from them. Great. From today onward, you are a special talent. All information will be kept confidential until departure. If you have any questions, come directly to me. Just as I leaned over to sign, a piercing pain started from my lower limbs, and I was in so much agony that I fell straight from the chair. This familiar pain was exactly the same as when I married into the Song family in my previous life. My head spun, and I fainted on the spot. When I woke up again, I was already lying in the hospital, with Zhang Yichu by my side. He looked tense. Comrade Xiaoyoshin, we fully understand your eagerness to join, but if you have any underlying health issues, the organization will have to reject your application. After hesitating for a moment, I decided to tell Zhang Yichu about my experiences from my past life. After speaking, Zhang Yichu's expression remained unchanged. Yichu, don't you believe me? Well, just treat this as a joke. I believe you. Zhang Yichu suddenly spoke up. My heart warmed. Actually, whether he believed me or not wasn't important. Those two words alone were a great encouragement. You said he can influence you, then can you influence him? I shuddered all over. How had I not thought of that? Since deciding to marry Fan Ronghua, Song Yangji had become a frequent visitor to my home. Tonight, as expected, it's at my place again, at the dinner table. I stared intently at Song Yangji's face. It was all because I had just casually had my wisdom tooth extracted at the hospital. Now that the anesthesia had just worn off, the right side of my face was already in unbearable pain, and I wondered if he would be affected, but he looked calm, even chatting happily with my father. What's going on? Could it be that my pain can't be transferred? Just as I was wondering, Fan Ronghua actually sent someone to move the sandalwood chest left by my mother from my room. This is my mother's belongings. What right do you have to take them away, Dad? Fan Ronghua coquettishly pleaded with Dad. Xia. If your sister goes to the big house empty-handed, she'll be laughed at. Why don't you give these to your sister first to help her save face? You're going to the countryside anyway. And you can't take these things with you. We're all family. What's the harm in sharing? Dad, how are we family? She's my stepsister. We're not related by blood. Why should she touch my mother's belongings? To put it bluntly, this house was left to me by my mother. They're just staying here as guests. Dad wanted to argue, but my words, not related by blood, left him speechless. Fan Ronghua looks even more like our father than I do. And she's only half a year younger than me. Father remarried just 3 months after mother passed away, so it's hard for me not to doubt Fan Ronghua's true identity. During the argument, the box accidentally fell on Song Yangji's leg. He remained expressionless, but I was in so much pain that I had to bend my knee. At that moment, Fan Ronghua panicked and pushed me down the stairs. I felt as if my internal organs were about to be jolted out, bearing the pain. I watched Song Yangji's reaction. He was sitting in a wheelchair at that moment, looking at me with a calm expression. Damn it, this effect is actually one way. Downstairs, the cheerful laughter of the family filled the air. Today's meal was essentially Fan Ronghua's wedding feast. Meanwhile, I lay in the bedroom, the sense of physical and mental exhaustion overwhelming the pain in my body. Just as I was pondering how to break the deadlock, my stomach churned violently. I vomited directly, bile mixed with traces of blood, sweating all over. I clearly hadn't eaten anything. So why was I vomiting? At that very moment, the laughter and chatter downstairs grew louder. Regimental Commander Song, you sure can hold your liquor. That's already 3 Jin. He just drank another Jin of Huanjiu. Regimental Commander Song really knows how to drink. It's nothing. As long as the wine keeps flowing, I won't stop. It's Song Yangji again. No, if he keeps drinking like this, I'll die. I staggered downstairs, trembling and almost growling. Song Yangji, what on earth have you done to me? Why do you drink? And I vomit blood. At that moment, everyone looked at me. Song Yangji looked completely innocent. What does my drinking have to do with you vomiting? Fan Ronghua stood between the two of us. Sis, can't you stand to see me happy? I just took one of your old boxes, and you have to be so disgusting about it. You were the one who refused to marry him back then. So why are you trying to go back on it now? Let me tell you, it's useless. Yangji has already submitted the marriage application. You've missed your chance. Xiaoxin, stop making a scene. If you're not feeling well, go to the hospital. Don't slander Captain Song. Father, without even bothering to find out the truth, took his side and shooed me away, telling me not to ruin their fun. Song Yangji looked at me with a challenging glint in his eyes, picked up his glass, and took another gulp of white liquor. My esophagus and stomach burned with pain. The pain contorted my face. Judging by his mocking expression, it was clearly intentional. With my last ounce of strength, I overturned the dining table. Xiaoxin, what are you doing? I had no time to speak at all, as another sharp pain shot through my stomach, and this time, I vomited a mouthful of blood all over the floor. I can't stop it all right now. The entire restaurant is covered in vomit. Everyone was completely stunned. I woke up in the dead of night, lying in my own bed. My father and stepmother, fearing I might disrupt the festive atmosphere, had simply tossed me back into my bedroom. Even though I had coughed up blood, a sudden noise came from the next room. It's Song Yangji's voice. Xiaoxin has already noticed something. I must speed up the process and complete the transfer before she leaves. How on earth did he manage to do that? Just as I was pondering, another voice sent a chill down my spine. Don't worry, even if she notices, it won't matter. It's only a matter of time. She still thinks you're the one transferring the illness. I shuddered all over, my ear pressed tightly against the wall. As the two of them chatted and laughed, I finally understood. The one who could truly transfer the illness was not Song Yangji, but Fan Ronghua. Even if she flees to the ends of the earth, the transfer of the illness is only a matter of speed. From their conversation, I extracted a crucial clue. Distance would affect the transfer effect. Go. Leave immediately. I dragged my sick body, enduring the pain, and packed my things overnight. When I opened the rosewood chest, there was actually a photo of my mother at the bottom. In the photo, she was holding me, her smiling face bearing a striking resemblance to mine. I was lost in thought. Sis, you're awake. Are you feeling better? Suddenly, Ronghua's voice sounded from outside the room, and I dared not move. The doorknob was turned by someone. She locked the door. Could she have run away? Maybe she's still asleep. Are you sure you heard it right? Forget it. I won't go to your place these next few days. I'll keep an eye on her until the transfer is complete. I heard every word of the conversation outside the door clearly. At this moment, as I look at the photo of my mother in my hand, I finally understand what is going on. So, this is how you transferred it. A few days later, The marriage between Fan Ronghua and Song Yangji had been approved, sister, the other day. As your elder sister, was too abrupt. This new trunk is specially bought for you, and these 2 jade pendants are also for you and Commander Song, as a wedding gift. Fan Ronghua was quite surprised. Father kept praising me for my magnanimity, but only after glancing at me did he notice I was leaning on a crutch. Xia, what happened to you? I waved my hand dismissively. It's nothing. It's just that my right leg suddenly felt weak these past few days. It might get better in a few days. Fan Ronghua and father exchanged a glance, and she suddenly spoke up. Oh, how inconvenient it is to use crutches. Yangji has been getting better these past few days, and the wheelchair is no longer needed. Why not let my sister use it? With that, she pushed me into the wheelchair, and the whole family praised how well it suited me. I had just sat down, and my bottom hadn't even warmed the seat yet. A young soldier rushed recklessly into my house. I'm here to get Colonel Song's wheelchair. Fan Ronghua was displeased and put on the airs of a military wife. How dare you? My husband can already walk. Why would you bring this unlucky thing again? Are you cursing Colonel Song? The soldier broke out in a cold sweat. Regimental Commander Song suddenly couldn't stand up during the assembly. What? Song Yangji was going to share his story with the unit. Today, he deliberately didn't use his crutches, wanting to showcase his resilience, his unyielding spirit, but less than 10 minutes into his speech, he collapsed onto the ground, like a pile of mud, never stood up again. Fan Ronghua urged me to get off the wheelchair and hurriedly pushed it to find Song Yangji. I went with my father and stepmother to the hospital to visit this new brother-in-law. When we arrived, the doctor was issuing a critical condition notice. The patient is in critical condition now. Without surgery, they will be permanently disabled. However, our hospital is currently short on anesthesia. The decision to proceed with the surgery is up to you. Fan Ronghua saw me arrive as if she had spotted a lifeline. Proceed. Do the surgery without anesthesia. Indeed, distance affects the transmission of pain. Now that the painkiller, had arrived, she finally dared to speak up, but the next second, a piercing scream from Song Yangji echoed through the operating room. Something's wrong. The patient has passed out from the pain. Fan Ronghua looked at me in disbelief, while I was leisurely reading a book with a relaxed expression. Xia Yoxin. What did you do? Why are you fine? Fan Ronghua loudly questioned, causing many to turn their heads and look. This is a military hospital, so naturally everyone knows Song Yangji. Sister, you're being strange. It was you who told your husband to have the surgery without anesthesia. Now that your husband is in danger, why are you asking me? I'm not a doctor. I made sense with every word, and Fan Ronghua stammered for a long time, almost revealing the truth. Song Yangji's surgery was like a brush with death. His life is saved. As family members, you must ensure he gets plenty of rest. In the early stages, he will experience incontinence and will need someone to care for him. Who among you will come with me to learn the basics of caregiving? Let Xia Yoxin take care of him. She's the eldest sister, so it should be her responsibility, just like in my previous life. My younger sister always pushes the dirty and tiring work onto me. Taking care of my brother-in-law, even handling his bathroom needs. Is that appropriate for a sister? After hearing about my relationship, the doctor couldn't help but interject. If the patient's wife is present, we recommend the wife. But at that moment, my father spoke up. Xia, you should go and listen too. Don't let your sister get too tired on her own. I was stunned. In my previous life, I took care of Song Yangji because we were husband and wife. But what does it mean for me to take care of him in this life? But my father's next words were, this matter, in any case, has something to do with you. I was speechless for a long moment. The previous speculation was confirmed in my heart. Indeed, my father also knows the secret. Then the stepmother is also involved. So, from beginning to end, I have always been an outsider in this family. Even my marriage in my previous life, and my death in that life, might have been part of their carefully planned scheme. Xia Yoxin, you're here. I've been looking for you for a long time. It was Zhang Yichu, walking over with a file folder in hand. Get ready, we leave in 3 days, northwest. My father was shocked upon hearing this. What? So urgent? Isn't the annual rural inspection period fixed? Why is she the only one in such a hurry? My father wanted to ask more, but I pretended to feel unwell. Seeing my condition, my father's expression brightened with delight, and he pretended to comfort me. Would you like to rest in the ward? No, Dad, I might as well go home. I can pack my things. I pretended to be extremely weak and let Zhang Yichu help me out. As soon as I left the ward, I immediately turned back. Zhang Yichu was also stunned by my actions. Sure enough, as soon as I left, my father hurried to report the good news to Fan Ronghua. Dad, my sister has had a relapse, but Yangji still hasn't woken up. I thought after the illness, the person would be fine. Why hasn't Yangji woken up yet? Maybe after all these years, I've misremembered some things. Anyway, you and Yangji only have a few days left. You need to hurry. Zhang Yichu was also listening at the door, his heart pounding. Xiaoyoshin, what on earth is going on? Before my mother died, she hid all her secrets in the hidden compartment of the Wangwali wood. I took out the letters one by one. Zhang Yichu casually flipped through them, his expression gradually shifting from calm to one of utter disbelief. Is this true? Whether it's true or not, my mother was killed in just this way. 30 years ago, my father, Fan Tian, married into the Xia family and had me, but not long after, my father fell seriously ill. At that time, he grew to despise my mother, and the wealth and glory that once belonged to her family became a burden to him. My father's birth mother once taught him a secret technique that could transfer his own illnesses to those around him, making others bear his debts. The medium for this transfer is an item that one frequently wears. I pointed to the red string in my mother's photo and then showed the one on my hand. This is the medium they used for the transfer. The one on my hand was put on by Fan Ronghua, but in reality, it was Song Yangji's personal item. How dare you still wear it? Zhang Yichu reached up to help me take it off. Don't panic, this is a fake made to deceive the Fan family. A fake? Then where is the real one? Song Yangji had just woken up for less than half a minute when Fan Ronghua began writhing in pain on the floor. She could no longer tell whether it was her foot or her stomach that hurt. What's wrong with you? I don't know. Dad, I'm in so much pain. Oh dear, daughter, is your appendicitis acting up again? Fan Ronghua nodded and shook her head intermittently, while her father anxiously searched everywhere for medical staff to get painkillers. However, painkillers were scarce supplies, prioritized for the military, let alone for ordinary patients. Fan Ronghua underwent all the necessary tests, but nothing conclusive was found. Either it's appendicitis, or it's that matter. There's nothing seriously wrong with your health. The doctor was disgusted with this family and didn't give them a good look. Fan Ronghua had already sensed something strange and voiced her suspicions, but my father quickly dismissed them. This is appendicitis. I saw your sister in so much pain she couldn't stand up and had to be helped away. Stop being so suspicious. Your sister's red bracelet is still on her wrist. If she felt something was wrong, she would have taken it off first. The family, who were supposed to return today, stayed with Fan Ronghua in the hospital for 2 more days. During these 2 days, I managed to locate all of my mother's inheritance. The letter not only held secrets from the past but also revealed the location of my mother's inheritance. She had long lost trust in my father, but due to special circumstances in the unique era, some things could only be buried underground. We dug up 2 large boxes in the backyard, and when we opened them, they were filled with antique jewelry. Are you really going to donate them to the country? Zhang Yichu had never seen so many treasures before and was instantly stunned. He asked me again, You're already paying me such a high salary, what would I do with these? I can't spend them, can't move them, and if I leave them here, they just end up benefiting them. Zhang Yichu suddenly spoke up. Do you have the deed to this house? Yes, I do. On the night before I was set to leave, the Fan family finally returned. I had planned to leave that very night, but my father insisted on hosting a banquet. My eldest daughter is going to support the Northwest. My second daughter is also married. In the future, the house will be left with just the 2 of us old folks, lonely and miserable. How can we just eat simply? My father, Fan Tian, raised his glass. Dad, what kind of talk is that? If you miss me and Yangji, we can come see you anytime. Fan Ronghua had been hospitalized for 2 days and was physically weak, but at this moment, she also forced a smile and raised her glass. My stepmother and Song Yanya both looked at me, as if waiting for me to raise my glass. I symbolically touched the rim of the cup, barely wetting my lips. Father, I set down the glass. There's something I need to correct with you. I'm afraid you won't be able to live in this house anymore. What do you mean by that? This has always been the ancestral property of the Xia family. After I left, I rented the house out to someone else to run as a guest house. Tomorrow morning, they'll be coming to take over and set up the space. Such a major decision. Why didn't you discuss it with me? I'm your father. This house. I curled the corner of my mouth. Why should a person surnamed Fan meddle in my Xia family's house? Xiaoyoshin, you are my daughter. Don't think going to the countryside is some glorious thing. When you get bullied, when you come back home, you'll still have to rely on your father for support. Support, I sneered. When have you ever supported me? By making me a nanny, or a caretaker? My gaze swept over the others. As for whether I'll come back, don't worry, even if I die out there, my bones rot in the desert, I will never set foot through this door again. You ungrateful daughter, heartless wretch. Fan Tian trembled with rage. Just then, an indescribable stench suddenly spread across the dining table. Song Yangji's trouser legs dripped with an unidentified yellow liquid. He had lost control of his bladder. Upon noticing this, Ronghua immediately pushed Song Yangji away. As soon as Song Yangji left, father fixed his gaze intently on me. It seemed as if he was waiting for my body to react. I found it amusing and couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Dad, are you waiting for me?" Father's pupils contracted sharply. "Wait until I'm writhing in pain like Ronghua. Or until I disgrace myself in public like Captain Song." "Xiaoxin, what nonsense are you talking about?" He slammed the table forcefully to cover up his guilt. The bowls and dishes on the table were all jolted into the air. However, an even more awkward situation occurred. Father's lower body was dripping something. Immediately after, the stepmother beside him also looked strange, suddenly clamping her legs tightly. An even stronger stench of urine filled the dining room. Suddenly, a sharp cry came from the inner room, belonging to Fan Ronghua. "Dad, Mom, me too." Ronghua rushed out of the inner room, just in time to bump into the awkward scene between her father and stepmother. You two are also. Wah, it stinks so much, I can't go on living." Velvet Flower pointed at me and cursed. "Dad, I told you, she already found out. What exactly did you do to us? Why is this happening?" I stretched lazily. "Nothing much, just letting you share in Captain Song's suffering. After all, it's your daughter who's getting married. As someone with the surname Xia, it's not appropriate for me to meddle in your family affairs." "Impossible, you're still wearing the red string. How could it have transferred to us?" "Oh, you mean this?" I leisurely untied the rope and tossed it directly into the fireplace. Hiss, a wisp of blue smoke rose, and the fake red rope instantly turned to ashes. The three of them suddenly froze. And I thought they had finally realized their mistake and were about to bow their heads in apology, but my father suddenly spoke up. "Daughter, lift the backlash, and I promise to spare your life." I couldn't help but laugh. "What gives you the right to negotiate with me?" Father's expression suddenly changed. He picked up a nearby dinner knife and lunged straight at me. As I dodged, I knocked over the wineglass. Father suddenly sneered coldly. "Originally, what I had prepared for you today was a farewell drink, to use your life to extend Song Yangji's, but I never expected, you've grown wings, and pecked out my eyes first. Fine, you've got guts, either help me untie this, or you won't be leaving today either." He grabbed the knife and lunged at me again, while my stepmother and Ronghua surrounded me. They had gone mad, actually planning to take my life right then and there. At that moment, their legs suddenly gave way, and the three of them knelt on the ground without warning. I heard Song Yangji scream from the inner room, followed by the muffled groans of pain from the three. Seizing the opportunity, I turned around without hesitation and rushed into the bedroom, locking the door behind me. "Speak up now," Father roared outside the door, pounding on it frantically with his fists. My stepmother and Fan Ronghua kept banging on the door. "Xiaoxin, if you won't let me live in peace, you won't live either. At worst, the three of us will serve Song Yangji properly. We won't die, but you'll die here today. If you don't come out, I'll set the place on fire. As long as you're dead, burned to ashes, let's see who will still recognize that bullshit lease. That bitch of a mother of yours must have hidden other gold. Once you're dead, I'll have all the time in the world to search slowly. I'll dig 3 feet into the ground to find it. That's right. Burn her to death, as long as she's dead. Maybe this damn backlash will stop." "Xiaoxin, I'm asking you one last time, speak, or not." He was shouting outside the door, unaware that I had already been taken away by Zhang Yichu through the window. Not long after I escaped, the old house burst into raging flames. "Dad, my sister's body is gone. Maybe it was burned to ashes. Never mind, hurry and find something." "Dad, are you sure there are any relics? We've already turned this place upside down. Dig harder. 20 years ago, I saw that bitch burying something underground. The house was burned down to an empty shell, and my father, along with several others, dug 3 feet into the ground, determined to unearth something." Zhang Yichu arrived with a pair of public security officers, but my father had already prepared his explanation. He immediately knelt on the ground and burst into tears. "My eldest daughter went crazy yesterday for some reason and set the house on fire." "Exactly. My sister was jealous that I married Commander Song and wanted to harm me, but she ended up setting herself on fire and burning down the house." Song Yangji, sitting in a wheelchair nearby, nodded in agreement. Zhang Yichu smiled as he spoke to the police officer. "I came to see Xiaoxin yesterday and just happened to see the three of them splashing gasoline and setting the house on fire." My father was startled. "How dare you slander me?" He reached out to strike. Zhang Yichu remained unperturbed. "Fan Tian, your job is car maintenance, so it's easy for you to get gasoline. I heard yesterday that you had someone exchange 3 barrels of gasoline. You're an idle person with no car. What do you need gasoline for?" My father was instantly stunned, and he suddenly whispered to Zhang Yichu, "Secretary Zhang, there's something in my house. Can we settle this privately?" Zhang Yichu raised his voice. You want to settle with me? I have a 20-year lease on this house. You burned my house down. I should be asking you how you're going to compensate me. My father never expected that the person I rented was none other than Zhang Yichu. Meanwhile, Song Yangji, relying on his status as the regiment commander, spoke up, hoping to say a few words in defense of his father-in-law. Zhang Yichu coldly tossed out a letter the moment Song Yangji opened it. He froze in shock. Fan Ronghua curiously picked it up and read the words on it. Comrade Song Yangji has been assessed as having a disability above the 4th level and is recommended for discharge and reassignment. Song Yangji broke down on the spot. My house is gone, and with Zhang Yichu's witnesses and evidence all gathered, the 3 of us, except for Song Yangji, are going to jail. But Fan Ronghua and her mother both shifted the blame onto my father. They even went so far as to pin my death on him, claiming he harmed his own daughter for money. Fan Ronghua also revealed a major secret. I liked Song Yangji, and my father said he had a way to get us together. He tampered with Song Yangji's car. That's why Song Yangji got injured. Later, my father taught me a method to transfer the illness. It was all my father. Upon hearing this, Song Yangji learned that his disability was actually caused by the father and daughter of the Fan family. And his hatred reached its peak. All 3 of them were imprisoned, but Fan Tian was sentenced to 40 years. He was already 55 years old, and 40 years was no different from a death sentence. During those 40 years, he would be transferred the pain and suffering of Song Yangji, making death seem preferable. 2 years later, Fan Ronghua and her stepmother were released. Fan Ronghua thought that Song Yangji's unwavering loyalty during her imprisonment was true love. Unexpectedly, on the very first day of her return, she was beaten by Song Yangji. It was you all along. Back when I had the car accident, I thought you were saving me. I never expected. You were trying to harm me. I will never divorce you. I'm going to haunt you for the rest of my life. Haha. Is the transfer still not undone? I'll just keep hurting myself from now on. You 3 can suffer together. That's right. The pain transfer from Song Yangji's injuries was still affecting all 3 of them. Whenever he had nothing better to do, he would go out and get into a car accident or twist his ankle. After all, his pain will be transferred to these 3 people. As for me, they all think I'm dead. Xia Yoxin is indeed dead. I changed my name to Xia Xinqing. I worked in a secret base in the northwest for a full 20 years. My mother's legacy transformed into a laboratory on the Gobi Desert, where I poured my sweat and silently dedicated myself, unmarried and childless. Each research project became my child, enriching my life and allowing me to find my own value within them. At the age of 50, due to the high-intensity work, the organization granted me early retirement. That same year, I also received a medal of my own. I returned to my hometown, which I had left behind for so long. Zhang Yichu received me and took me back to the site of the old house, where a modern small building had been reconstructed. You rented it to us for 20 years back then, and the lease has long since expired. It's time to return it to you. I took the house key, and the feeling of gratitude in my heart took a long time to settle. Retirement life was peaceful and serene, and I worked part-time as an honorary professor. Occasionally, I would mentor students, but most of the time, I lived in a small building, enjoying a leisurely life under a different name. That day, after attending a meeting with Zhang Yichu, he drove me home. A woman suddenly rushed out and nearly collided with our car. Security, quickly remove the woman. Sorry, Secretary Zhang, this is my wife. She's here to bring me some food. The security guard then lifted the woman and slapped her. Through the glass, I finally saw clearly that the woman being hit was Fan Ronghua. She looked at least 10 years older than she appeared, limping on her feet, with injuries on her face. And that security guard was none other than Song Yangji, who was still full of energy, though he had lost the youthful vigor of his younger years. You're blind, can't you see the leader's car? What if you damage the leader's car? Fan Ronghua trembled with fear. She immediately knelt down. I'm sorry, leader, kowtowing frantically towards the car. If you cause me to lose my job, you and your wretched mother can get out of my house. Zhang Yichu couldn't bear to watch any longer, waved his hand, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Song Yangji could be seen kicking Fan Ronghua once again. Vulgar words came out in response. What? Curious about how the Fan family is doing now. I shook my head. My surname is Xia Xinqing. The matter between Xia Yoxin and the Fan family ended in that great fire. I have broken free from the past and cast off my shackles. The days that follow belong to Xinqing. How wonderful it is to have a new life earned by my own efforts. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.